Hi, how are you today? I was out at the track today and I was doing my walking and I just wanted this word is for my teenagers again, my teens. And it was early morning, around school time when it started. I had did my laps and on my last lap and stuff, I was collecting the bottles and cans. Um, and I was came upon some young ladies as I was collecting them, and I said, to myself, it wasn't even that. It was that I start smelling marijuana in the air, or what they call as marijuana. And they were sitting by the press box, and I said to myself, the big thing is people say, if you say something to these kids, they're gonna cuss you out. If you say something to people, they're gonna rail on you. Is everything in the spirit of discouragement, but never to encourage you, because everybody's not going to cuss you out and things like that. You have to discern. But anyway, and if they did, so be it, but I just wanted, so I walked over to them and I said, hey, I said, come here for a second. They looked at me, and I would say the same thing, this lady, this stranger, we tell our kids don't approach kids, but in the spirit, I just said, I want to say something to you. I just want to chat with you for a minute. And they came down slowly, and I said, I just want to share something with you. And I began to share my testimony. I said, I'm a grandmother. I said, I'm 63. I said, I was where you were before. And they both looking at me, two girls, they both looking at me, and I'm like, what you doing? I said, I have a granddaughter, and I began to share my story, my testimony with them. Not a story, my testimony of a granddaughter I love very dearly. I raised her from birth, and unfortunately, the enemy, had at her. And, as he did with me and so many people daily, we're born into sin, shaped in inequity. But this is messages for my teens right now, my young men and my young women. And one of them had her business in her hand. And I said, and I just began to share with her, how, you're growing up, you're going through things, you're seeing everybody wow out and stuff, doing all kind of stuff, politely doing what they do, and, how we feel about ourselves. And one of them, she just couldn't take her eyes on me. She just was like looking right into her soul, like, lady, you was talking to me. Like, what do you want to do this for the rest of your life? Where are you gonna be? Where are you gonna be in your life? And you are drugged out. And it's like, but you know what? They were very. I'm going to tell you, they were very attentive. They were listening. So I shared my testimony with them about the smoking, the marijuana and whatever else the people out here doing this stuff. And I was like, you don't want to be that place if you are even in that place down the road, because nowadays kids aren't making it because they're ending up they're in all kinds of situations. Your life, you end up with people you don't want to be with. You think they're going to have your best because, you start doing that stuff, dibbling and dabbling. What is next? Where is it going to take you? But I'm talking to my teens because I want you to know that you're important. You're valuable. You know how I know that? Because God woke you up and you watching this. And whatever the reason you watching this, God want you to hear what you need to know, because everybody's not going to tell you. Everybody's so afraid to take and confront the teens of this generation. Sometimes it depends on how. I didn't say to them, don't do that. I gave them a testimony of mine, how I'm 63 now. But where was I when I was in your age? And then my journey through and things that have happened to in my relative, in my family, and in the history of me and my schooling and being exposed to in your ingestion, where you gonna be? So I want my teens for you to know that you don't have to live your life subjecting and opening doors to a world that you really don't know on the other side of it. And like I was sharing with them is old spirits. Wherever you learn that habit, whatever you learn what you're doing, that's them people been in that stuff. A lot of these people y'all hanging out with teens, And the people before them, they've been in this stuff. They know the consequences. The Bible tells us the consequences of sin. You may say, Miss Brownhouse, that's sin. Because it's wrong. And it's wrong, first of all, against you, and it's wrong against God. Because the Bible says to love yourself, love others as you love yourself. And a lot of people don't love themselves. I looked at one of the young ladies and I said, you know, when you're going through pain and you hurt, and a lot of people in pain, and her eyes was like, how you know that? Well, however you hurt and whatever reason you decided to reach out to this lifestyle, this is not what is it. You got to love yourself. You got to get to know who you are. The problem is so many people running out in this world trying to get people to love them, and they don't even love themselves. And the people you hang in with don't love themselves. Because if they love themselves, they wouldn't even be hanging with you doing that. So I want you to know, teens, there's other alternatives outside of putting something in your body, ingesting,